Hello.
Hi.
Welcome back once again to Wheel Takes, a podcast about the Wheel of Time, a series of fantasy novels written by Robert Jordan and completed by Brandon Sanderson. I'm Gus. I've read all of them.
I'm Allie, and I've read almost all of them.
Closing in, Book 13, Chapter 2. This podcast only contains spoilers for what Allie has already read, and again today that's everything up to and including Towers of Midnight, Chapter 2. Allie, how you doing?
I'm doing so good.
We are glad to be back. We had mold that turned into a termite infestation, that turned into a fumigation, that turned into work needing to be done underneath everything, and yeah, we're good. We're here now. We're here now.
We are in this space. So happy to be here right now.
Very happy to be here right now, away from mold and flooding and termites.
That was a lot.
It was a lot, but we're here now, and we're here to talk about how my tinnitus just kicked up. We're here to talk about the Wheel of Time.
Yes.
Mainly Chapter 2 of Towers of Midnight, but also, you know, doing a kind of checking in on where we are and what is left to be resolved in these roughly 1,800 pages, 1,700 pages.
A lot.
2,000 pages.
There's like 80 billion plots.
What is, before we dive in, I guess, to the chapter itself, Allie, what are some things that you are looking forward to, or hoping, because I will tell you not every plot is resolved by the end of the series, what are some things that are on your hit list for must be resolved?
Rand's got to learn to chill. That's for sure. Like, he's got to learn that life is balance, all that stuff.
Didn't he kind of do that?
I think so, but, you know, I need further. I've only seen him once since then,
true,
so I kind of need further, you know. I'm going to need the Shanshan to stop being slavers.
That would be nice.
That's on the list.
What do you think the likelihood is of that happening?
Well, I would hope that as we're going into a utopic period...
But are we?
I don't know.
That's been frequently discussed. Is the fourth age guaranteed to be a utopia, or is it simply a return to balance?
We've gone through a lot, so maybe we could have a little bit of a break,
as
respite.
A treat? A little utopia as a treat?
A little utopia as a treat. I would love one, personally, right now.
It'd be cool.
Let's see. We've got... Yeah, I think Elaine's going to be queen. That's
pretty much established, right?
Yeah, we're there. Yeah, what else is there to do? I guess defeat the shadow at this point.
We've got Egwene.
Well, Lan's got to take Malkir back.
We've got Lan. Do you think that'll happen?
Yes.
Okay.
That'd be a bummer if it didn't.
Because what's Lan up to?
Nynaeve will make it happen.
What's Lan up to just now? And I realize this is similar.
He's thinks he's on a death mission, but everybody's riding with him.
This is similar to our recent discussion where we did the bingo sheet, but I wanted to open this up to just, because we've been so inconsistent lately, to really kind of just settle in for a second and look at everything, this book and next book, that we're hoping to see. He's
the last battle.
The last battle, famously, could you imagine if we had the entire series and did not have a last battle?
Well, that's not going to happen.
That would be appalling. No, yeah, we got Lan charging the Blight, racking up an army on his way, unintentionally, despite his best efforts. We've got Rand now in this kind of deific state. Remains to be seen how you feel about that.
Yeah, I mean...
Sprouting apples like they're mold on the wall.
It seems like he's entering where he needs to be, which is that, like, state of radical acceptance and...
Kind of a zen.
Yeah, there's a period where you're just like, life happens, and you just kind of have to ride the waves and not get too reactive to it. We've
got Elaine has now been declared queen, right? Almond Bunt, last chapter. The goat Almond Bunt talking about how the new queen in Camelin, da-da-da-da-da. So she has been apparently crowned.
Good for her. Yeah, Egwene's the Amerlin.
In the similar vein of women achieving great things by tooth and nail, Egwene is now globally recognized as the Amerlin seat.
We have to, I think, oust Mazrim Taim.
That would be nice, the Black Tower. Maybe I should be writing all of this down. Wouldn't that be a smart thing to do as a podcaster, writing things down?
Perhaps.
Egwene, A-okay, I guess. Elaine, A-okay, I guess. Well, Elaine, A-okay, super prego.
Super prego. Egwene seems like she's hit a...
Incidentally, we're
chill
not
period.
pregnant. Everybody we fucking know is pregnant right now. Can I just say that?
So many people.
Everybody
Yeah.
it's a lot of people.
It's like everybody at one time. I get like a call a day, it feels like.
And the reason I preface that with we're not is because anytime I say the word pregnant, people go, and that's very kind of you.
We'll let you know.
We'll let you know if and when that
announcement.
happens. But everybody around us is.
Oh my God.
Including Elaine. It's coming through the series. It's coming through the text.
Well, this series has weirdly reflected back to us so many things that have happened in our life and in the world.
Honestly, so many things.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, it seems like they're kind of hitting a... Oh, Moraine still needs to be rescued. That's got to happen soon.
Moraine still in the clink.
Yeah, we got to get her back.
We got... Well, I guess if we're in that arena, Matt. Haven't seen hardly hide nor hair of Matt.
Yeah, we need
What's
Matt
up
back.
with him? What's he got to do? He's got to rescue Moraine, right?
Uh-huh.
Anything else? Or is that the end of his plot?
I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
For Matt? The band, maybe? I don't know. Something to do with
Yeah,
them?
I guess something to do with the band.
He and Talmanis need to kiss?
Definitely. My bisexual king. I feel like it's all just going to be kind of ramp up to the last battle stuff, like
Well,
kind
we
of
can
tying
talk
up some loose ends.
Through the last battle, too. I mean, we can talk beyond the last battle.
I mean, I feel like I don't have a ton of visibility. There hasn't been like a prophecy lately that I can latch
Not
on
a ton. No, we've resolved a lot of the prophecies, right?
Yeah, it feels like we're kind of... Well, the blood on the rocks is Shao Ghul, I guess.
That one is... Yeah, okay. Blood on
So I guess he's got to die.
rocks. See, this is the thing. What I always thought when I read that is if who draws it out shall follow after can literally be Narishma was late. Why does his blood on the rocks of Shao Ghul mean he needs to die? What if he gets a nosebleed?
I mean, that's
if he
a really
scabs
good
his little
like
knee?
a lot could happen in Shao Ghul that could draw blood.
Anything could
You could
happen
get a
in
little
the lightning round.
bruised knee, a little skinned knee happening.
Maybe he sees a beautiful woman and does that anime thing. He spontaneously generates a nosebleed.
Is that a thing?
It's an anime thing, yeah.
Huh. I wonder why.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like the Barrelane thing to be resolved.
Barrelane. Okay, so
In
then
some kind
let's
of
make this a
satisfying way.
subset of Perrin, because unfortunately Perrin...
Because I feel like the marriage has got to have a discussion where it's like, hey,
Perrin, I'm making bullet points.
feelings
everybody. I'm
can be
making bullet
caught in a
points.
marriage, and that's something that
Perrin,
can happen sometimes.
Figure out your shit with Barrelane.
/Vail. Like,
Barrelane stop being a creep.com.
I think Vail can be like, yo, I caught some feelings and it was weird.
Who can't? Perrin didn't.
Vail did.
Oh, we're talking about Roland?
Yeah.
You want to have anybody talk about Roland ever again?
Well, no, but I feel like there's got to be a little bit of like a, finish to that. Like,
well, we had that thing last book where they were like...
where she was allowed to mourn for...
They mourned for their
Which,
captor. We talked about that.
Listen, trauma is complicated.
Yeah.
I wish... Yeah. I think trauma's complicated, you guys. Two things can be true at one time. Yeah. I think, actually, this is my theory about stuff sometimes, is that a lot of the problems that are caused in the world is our refusal to accept that two things can be true at the same time.
That's very accurate, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That like two perspectives can be accurate.
Both be accurate.
Yeah.
We got Roland resolution ? Other Perrin, because I feel like we've got two Perrin
he's got to
chapters
figure
already.
out his wolf shit.
Wolf shit.
Yeah. That's got to
Get
be
on
done.
it. Yeah. Okay.
Let's get that over with. Like, we got to get into self-acceptance
what do we achieve? How do we achieve that with wolves? What does that mean?
I think he's just got to accept that that's a part of him.
Okay.
I've been reading a lot of Jungian shit lately, and this feels very like you can't push your shadow self away. You have to accept that it exists.
Is the wolf his shadow self?
I don't know. It could be metaphorical. Because
Can you give us a definition of what that is?
So,
with the understanding that neither of us has a degree in
that I don't
this.
have a degree in this, and I've just been doing kind of like a crash course on my own personal development. So, Jungian stuff, the process of individuation, which is kind of like his version of a spiritual awakening, has like multiple steps, one of which is kind of integrating your shadow self. So like a lot of problems that arise, right? Like projection onto other people and like sudden bouts of rage or really just intense emotions come from violence against other people comes from the suppression of your shadow. So you refuse to recognize or look at or really like examine the dark parts of you that exist in everyone.
Right. Your capacity to do.
And that actually is
these things
incredibly harmful to you because it causes you to, if you don't kind of accept that there are dark parts of you and there are like, traumatized, screaming inner children in all of us, right? If you don't kind of look at that part of yourself and like really understand it and learn how to kind of like accept that it is there, you will inadvertently like project that outwards onto other people through like violent action or like, you see versions of your shadow self in others and that causes you to like be really unkind to them in some way or you project onto other people your own wounds and stuff that they're not responsible for are a part of. Like none of those things that have happened in your past are happening now. Right. But you'll like mistake what's happening now for like you'll attach stories to them and like Eckhart Tolle calls them pain bodies.
Eckhart Tolle, who wrote a book you really like called The Power of Now.
Yeah. You'll kind of project that stuff onto people and like make it worse. Like it's better for you in the long run to accept that like you are a part of the human race and we all have darknesses within us and like really examine those things and bring them into your awareness so that you can prevent yourself from doing harmful actions toward other people because you're being reactive towards your shadow versus like suppressing it until it inevitably leaks out of you, out of your control.
Yeah, and that can
and
also...
out of your subconscious unawareness.
Right.
And unconscious behavior.
Right.
So it's just about making the unconscious conscious.
Right. And a lot of that also can come from, I know one way that can manifest is a quote unquote shame spiral around negativity or the shadow, right?
Yeah.
So for parents' case, it could be a situation where he sees the wolf, he rejects the wolf, he pretends the wolf isn't there, the wolf intensifies.
Well, it's like one of those things where like, as to use trauma as an example.
Yeah.
A lot of the time people...
You first.
The way, this is what my therapist and I talked about at one point. The way to heal trauma is to face it.
Right.
Like that is the only way to, like, the more you try to suppress it and like move on with your life and don't like, and it's not to say you wallow in it, but it's like you have to accept that it happened to you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And like accept things about you, about yourself that have spawned from that, but then also not take that with you and like project it onto what's happening currently. Cause like, that's what like being stuck in a permanent fight or flight state does to you, is it's like your brain is constantly scanning for danger. So it's really interesting. So with Perrin, I feel like his whole thing with this wolf stuff is a suppression of a facet of who he is. The other thing that apparently you have to do in individuation is integrate your anima or animus, depending, Carl Jung, he writes from a very gendered perspective.
Yeah.
And that's a whole bag of worms.
Well, appropriate for Wheel of Time.
Yeah. I've become kind of convinced that a lot of people have people have thought a lot about Jungian stuff, even if they haven't specifically engaged with it.
Yeah, well, Babylon 5 does this too.
Yeah, well, that's purposeful.
That's explicit because he studied psychology.
Like that is 100% what's going on. Yeah. I'm sitting there going like, that's Jungian. But his whole thing is like this. So integration of the anima or animus, like we have to also integrate our inner masculine and feminine together. Like a lot of men, and this is speaking very broadly, but like reject their feminine because of society and stuff. And they have to integrate that into themselves.
We're generalizing.
Or they'll push away their masculine because of like baggage from society and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then with women, a lot of them will push away one or the other side of themselves, or like go identify too hard with the masculine and like because of society, or identify too hard with the feminine. You have to like integrate both of those things into yourself.
Yeah. And when we're looking at this from a binary perspective, it's from the societal imposition of binary and what that kind of can affect, right?
I mean, we all have inner masculine and feminine
yeah.
within us. It's like a part of it's a part of us. And so like, but society has taught us through various messaging to suppress one or the other or both. And that causes a lot of deep unhappiness, because it's like, why shouldn't men frolic?
Right.
Why can't men frolic?
I love to frolic.
It's a beautiful thing.
I like to frolic very much.
The other day I skipped with a male friend and it was a beautiful experience.
It's very fun.
So like, all that stuff.
I think for Perrin also, I mean, what's Perrin's core wound? In the books, it's less explicit, obviously. But what's Perrin's core wound from day one?
Violence.
The first thing is violence, and he's a large man, and he's afraid of his capacity to do violence.
We all have a capacity to do violence.
That's literally the shadow.
Yeah.
Right? That's the Jungian shadow.
Yeah, that is the thing you have to accept about yourself, is that we all have the capacity to be cruel, unkind, violent.
Yeah. The way my therapist put this,
immoral,
which I may have said on the podcast already, but when one of my first sessions with my therapist, we were talking about this, and he said, well, you know, when you get conscripted to fight in a war, they don't ask you, can you kill people?
No.
Because, yeah, you could.
If you had to, you probably
could, which is the shadow. And Perrin's whole spiel, right, from day one, is he has this great capacity for violence. And I mean, that's the hammer and the axe, and that's his relationship with the Tinkers. And in the show, they externalize this with his wife, and then more with the Tinkers. And I think that the wolves really are a direct continuation of that. Mm-hmm. You know, like, not that the wolf, I don't think that the wolves are a direct, intentional one-to-one representation of the Jungian shadow for Perrin. But I do think that, you know, wolves have a great capacity for violence.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, yeah, they're animals.
Yeah.
They're animals. Well, it's also, I've been reading a lot of shit, and it's like, there's this whole thing about like integrating your, you know, base self, so you're more like animalistic body self, with your, you know, higher self.
Speaking of animalistic, Petey has now walked over to the couch and is just kind of looming at us.
There's also this idea that like we have three different kind of versions of ourselves that we also have to integrate, which is the mind, the body, and the spirit. Right? There's three different versions of who we are, or like, you know, our ego, or super ego, or id, all that. It's always a triad, right? Our mother, maiden, crone, all that stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So it's like this idea of like, okay.
Which incidentally, Min, Elaine, and Avienda can be viewed as mother, maiden, crone.
Sure.
Yeah.
Totally.
Where I mean, I think in that case, Min would be the crone, and Avienda would be the maid, and Elaine would be the mother.
I'd switch Avienda.
Switch Avienda and Elaine?
I'd switch Avienda and Min.
Really?
Yeah, I'd say Min's maid, and then, because she's got that, like, she's not a fighter. She's like innocent. She's got the knives,
she's got the preternatural knowledge.
I just feel like the way that she behaves is very youthful in a way that, mean, you know, like, I mean, she did kind of have a personality switch about halfway through the series.
That did happen. Yeah.
But
now she's a researcher, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. I don't know.
You could also argue Min is all three.
Yeah. Well, I mean, theoretically, like, what we're trying to do as people, as we're growing, is like integrating all of these different parts of ourselves and accepting that they all exist and not resisting any part of them. It doesn't mean like then go stab a bunch of people.
No, of course not.
What it means is it's like you have to accept that like you have a darkness within you, because that prevents you from being overly cruel, and that actually prevents you from being unkind to other people.
Right, because you're aware of your capacity.
People make mistakes all the time, and when you look at yourself as like above them, you're actually denying yourself the intimacy of like being able to forgive people for their failings, being able to be compassionate toward people who fail, right? Being able to be understanding that like we're all human beings on a rock doing our best, right? That like all of us have childhood wounds and, you know, feelings of not being good enough or feeling like we're too much or, you know, insecurities. I mean, even narcissists and like the worst people that you know, like being a narcissist is a mental illness.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a mental illness, much like anything else, much like being bipolar or schizophrenic or whatever. And you don't, you know, you have to understand that like that's not necessarily, I mean, yeah, they do some bad actions, but like, you know, sociopathy is a mental illness. Like these things are mental illnesses. You know?
Yeah.
But, you know, it's a limited capacity on their part. That you could even argue it's neurodivergence, you know, in a particular way. It's just neurodivergence that people feel is shameful. You can argue. I just find it interesting.
Absolutely.
I just find it interesting. So, you know, but, you know, because that can often lead to some dark stuff, like people really malign people who are sociopaths or narcissists.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, they're on a journey just like everybody else. And they've got brain chemistry issues. But yeah, so I find all that stuff so interesting because it's like, you know, our judgment often of other people often comes from our actual fear of the judgment that we will receive. And our judgment of our very harsh judgment of ourselves. Right? Like, yeah. So anyway, I feel like Perrin is kind of an interesting example of that, where it's like, okay, he has this capacity for violence, as do we all, that he finds deeply shameful, which most of us do. And he is refusing to face it, and he's refusing to accept that it also is something that comes with gifts. Mm-hmm. A lot of the time, and this is sometimes people really balk at this, but the things that we endure also provide gifts.
Right.
I've learned that like my hypervigilance has turned me into an empath.
Yeah.
The hypervigilance likely came from some trauma wounding, right? It left me with a gift. It's also a little annoying.
Sure.
Sometimes. But like, that's a gift.
Well, and the wolf stuff specifically for Perrin can be enormously useful.
Yes.
Can be enormously beneficial. He's focused on exclusively the... Well, a lot of it's because
Min
of that...
does it too with her future telling.
Showman does it more than Bookman.
Yeah, but Bookman does it too, where she's like, you don't understand, like, when I see something, it has to happen.
Yeah.
And like, that's a huge responsibility and burden, and like, I'm not taking away from that, and that's traumatic and it's difficult.
I think a lot of Perrin's, though, comes from, you remember Gnome?
Yeah. Him seeing the result of somebody who's gone too far the other way.
One guy who's like 100% wolf, teen wolf.
I mean, think about Robert Jordan's war trauma. This is interesting to like talk about in this context too. It's like,
and Aram is such a good foil for Perrin because of that.
It's him having had to face a part of himself that makes him deeply uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That it exists. And it's like, well, now that you've seen it, now that you know that it exists, and there are people that can go into the shadows in a way that like causes them to do very dark and awful things.
Right.
Of course.
Well, that's Aram.
Yes, of course. I mean, there's something to be argued where it's like his like extreme suppression his entire life of that shadow caused him to accept it way too full-heartedly.
Yeah. Well, he decided I have nothing else.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's like that's why balance is it's all about balancing all of these things.
In the Wheel of Time?
Like, it's very Jungian because he's like, you have to balance the masculine and the feminine. You have to balance your shadow self with your higher self and your true self, or whatever it is that he calls it. Like, within us is both simultaneously an animal and the divine and the universe, right? Like Eckhart Tolle talks about, like, when you're annoyed with a stranger or whatever, or upset with somebody, just think to yourself, like, we're both divine and we're both going to die.
I mean, helpful. On that
both
note,
of these things are true.
We're going to take an ad break and then we'll be right back. Welcome back. I want to cover a few more things before we jump into the chapter. Perrin, I mean, are you anticipating a lot of Perrin this chapter, this book?
Well, this chapter, yes.
This chapter, yeah.
This book, I feel like there's got to be a come to Jesus about the wolf stuff, and I feel like it is going to make me cry. I feel like that's going to be one of the live reactions that I'm going to cry.
Very possible.
Because that's what I do now. Because, you know, once you open up those floodgates, they do come.
Little more going back. Egwene, a few things we haven't resolved with Egwene. The Masana of it all.
We're going to have to find her. It's going to be Danelle, and I'm going to pop some champ.
Right, Viv, I think you've insisted.
I feel like if I nailed it so hard years ago.
If you had nailed that, that would be one of the most iconic things about the podcast, let alone the reading.
I feel like that's going to happen.
What about...
Because now at this point, I just am manifesting it.
What about...
Grendel killed Asmodean. We're going to find that out.
Okay, I'll put this in a Forsaken section.
We got to find that out.
Forsaken, G, killed A. What about Grendel generally? She's still bouncing around, right?
Yeah, which gives us ample opportunity for us to... Because at first I was disappointed because I was like, well, if she's dead, then like we're not going to find out maybe that she killed him.
Egwene, Gawain.
Gawain.
What about Gawain?
Okay, so the last thing we kind of like heard about them in terms of prophecy is like it could go either way.
Yes.
He could like break her neck, right?
Yes.
Or save her life.
Or be kneeling to her. It was kneeling to her. It's the only time Min's ever had a viewing like this, by the way.
Yeah, that it's up in the air. It hasn't been decided yet.
So what do we think? I mean, Gawain's journey so far, having been one of progressive dumbassery, where do we think he goes from here?
I mean, hopefully a maturation process. I think he desperately wants to be... God, I really have been working on my compassion for men lately. Okay. I really have, because I think it's actually crucial. I think that he desperately wants to be the man that Egwene needs, but he does not have a roadmap yet as to how to be that man.
What is the man that Egwene needs? What does that consist of?
Here's what I'm thinking, because what's interesting is I do often feel like communication between, and this is again speaking so broadly,
of course,
between men and women can sometimes be a disconnect as to what men need and what women need, and like what men have been taught they're supposed to be versus what women have been taught they're supposed to be.
Right.
Like I think women have been given a lot of emotional labor in our society and are
I would agree
expected to be very nurturing and like understanding and la-di-da-di-da-di-da, but have, but men have been taught that their value, and this is again speaking so broadly, it comes in what they can do for others.
Yeah, I think
in terms
that's
of
very true.
Like acts of service.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that can be a real disconnect as to like intimacy and what is needed and like the recognition of the very different kinds of labor that happen but in relationships, and what is expected in terms of the labor between men and women. And like, so anyway, I find all that very interesting. So I feel like Gawain is wanting to be there as a support for her in terms of like a protective masculine presence.
Right.
Right.
An active protector.
An active protector who is able to do a lot for her.
Right.
Right. Which is fine as a goal. Like, I mean, ideally in a relationship, a couple wants to protect one another, right? And care for one another.
And again, what is Gawain's, if we're looking at core wounds, what is Gawain's like earliest memory?
Well, Gawain has a father wound like no one else's business.
Yeah. But what's like his first memory?
Swearing to protect Elaine, something he is currently also failing to do.
Completely shitting the bed on.
Yes. And has been reminded that he is failing to do that by his mentor / kind of stepfather.
Kind of father figure, stepfather, yes.
Probably like the guy he modeled himself after.
Right.
Right? Like, because we all, like ducklings, latch on to parental figures and use them as models for like who to be in the world for better or worse. And like, some of your life, depending on who you latched onto, is spent unpacking some of that.
Right.
Yeah. And the effect that had on you, and like what subconscious, unconscious behaviors happen as a result of trying to emulate certain people. Or not, as the case may stand. So I think his father had a very clear preference for Galad over him. That's talked about.
Yeah.
Had very little interest in Elaine and Gawain.
No.
In their very early development. So that's massive father wounding right there. Then he's got his mother dating a couple different guys, both of whom were kind of kicked aside at various developmental points in his life, right? That's a whole other bag of worms. Not that a woman can't date, but it is what it is, right? Like a single mother can date, but children are sponges and shit happens.
Well, and we also, I mean, the Robert of it all, you remember what from the notes, so this is not explicit canon, but when Robert Jordan was outlining the characters, do you remember the reason why Galad is the way he is, according to the
right,
notes?
Because more gays had the audacity to date.
Have boyfriends, and Galad was so appalled that he had to become this legal good, lawful good, whatever.
Which there's a lot.
No, I know it's not canon. It's a draft. It's early. It's 80s.
Yeah,
whatever.
but there's a lot of fucking unpack about
Petey,
that.
come on up on the couch, kiddo.
And about
come on.
People's attitudes towards single mothers in general.
Yeah.
But like,
also an interesting thing going on in this season of Bridgerton, by the way. But that doesn't matter right now.
I do love second chance at love narratives.
Yeah.
I don't think we do them enough.
No, we don't. Gawain. Sorry, Gawain.
Come on. He's fine.
Okay. I just thought he might want to be up on the couch
Yeah,
instead of just kind of
he
staring.
wants to loom.
Okay, yeah, Gawain.
Let the man loom. But yeah, so what are we talking about? Gawain. So I think he desperately wants to be this idealized version of manhood that he has in his head, much like his brother. They have these idealized different versions of what manhood is in their head that they've taken to an extreme level, right? And they're really unsure as to how to kind of like actually provide that support. Egwene, meanwhile, I think is overwhelmed by the amount that he wants to help her without knowing how. Like, I think she is doing a lot of mental and emotional labor right now for this entire tower, right? It's a lot. And like, then him on top of that, kind of implying her need for his protection is infantilizing to her.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, especially, I think to this point, Gawain has kind of put Egwene in this damsel position.
Which she isn't.
Which she really isn't. I mean...
No.
Not so much.
It's unrealistic. It's a pedestalized, in a weird way, I think, viewing someone as a damsel in need of saving is a, like, slight... in its infantilization, it's also a weird pedestalization of women.
Yes.
Where they're so pure and innocent and good and whatever, that they need a man's protection.
It's interesting, too, because, going back to the Jungian idea of inner masculine, inner feminine, I would argue Egwene has some of the strongest balance of the two, of any character in the series.
I think, yeah, she's done a good job. I mean, yeah, she has a very clear sense of who she is, and has pretty much the whole time, and gone through her own maturation process, literally in the desert, which
she did literally do it.
There's
in the
a whole
desert
bit where you go into the desert to discover yourself, and it's very lonely. He definitely read young.
Robert?
Yeah.
Probably.
No, there's no way. Like, yeah, because there's a literal desert that both Rand and Egwene mature in. They're almost dual protagonists in a way.
I kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of think they're dual protagonists.
I think that's a very good reading, especially considering the fact that Egwene is now in charge of the female channelers and Rand is ostensibly in charge of the male channelers.
Well, it also makes sense from his thesis, Robert Jordan's thesis, to have dual protagonists, one who's a man and one who's a woman, and like viewing their maturation journeys simultaneously and reflecting one another. Egwene literally came into her full power in the White Tower as Rand realizes that he has to feel.
Yes.
I mean, is that not Egwene integrating her inner animus with Rand integrating his inner anima?
I think yes.
Is that not literally what that is?
I think yes, and I also think this is why the kind of framework of the show seemed to be setting them up as dual protagonists.
Well, because it only makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's also why the show was leaning into, I think, this idea that Egwene was Latra Pozai reborn.
Well, yeah, because as a thesis, it makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
it just makes sense.
Because
And
that
it's
was
like,
where they went wrong last time, is they didn't integrate with one another.
well, this all just makes sense. Okay. Yes. All right. Oh, I like this. Okay. So then we have, but when we have relationships, I think a lot of the time the communication breakdown comes through failure to communicate expectations.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of time, especially when we're young, we want people to just know what we need.
Right.
We're like, love is that they just show up in the way I need them to. And it's like, that is oftentimes not realistic. It's actually, in my mind, a sign of intense emotional immaturity.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to communicate.
You have to communicate. And yes, I understand that there's a certain extent to which you're like, I want words of affirmation. I don't want to feed you what those words of affirmation are, right? Like, because then it feels inorganic. So there's a balance there, obviously. But like, a communication of what your needs are, of what the needs are for both of these people, I think is breaking down a little bit. Because he desperately wants to be there for her as a support.
We're back to Gawain.
Yes.
Okay.
But he has a misunderstanding of what kind of support that she needs, and he's pedestalizing her and infantilizing her at the same time.
Yeah.
And with her, I think one of the things that is very difficult for men is the feeling of being useless or dismissed.
Well, it goes back to what you were saying earlier about how a lot, generalizing again, but a lot of quote unquote masculinity, what you're told is you need to be active and you need to be present and you need to do stuff for people.
Yeah.
Right? There's a joke that is like, in a complimentary way, guys are kind of like dogs. Give us a job. We're going to be very happy.
I actually I think about it as like
I'm generalizing.
Yeah, it's this idea. It's this need to be like. There's something sweet about it. It's like there's this need to be seen, being of use.
Right.
Being helpful.
Well, and that's the thing for Gawain is I think it's less about his actually being useful to her and more that he feels the need to be perceived as useful by her.
Right.
Whether or not he actually is of use.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a fear of being perceived as useless,
Yeah.
and I think he's projecting that onto her in a way where he's like, I need you to be
you to need me.
I need you to need me.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, what am I?
Which makes perfect sense with his character.
Right, because from the time he was barely out of the cradle, he was told you must be useful
To this specific
women.
woman.
to specific
This
women.
specific powerful woman, and now he's kind of transplanted that onto Egwene.
Yes, it's childhood wounding all the way down.
Yeah.
I find this kind of shit so fascinating because, I think it's a projection of what he has been told his entire life, which is you must be a useful man, you must be a protector. Mm-hmm. And so that's like what he, in his mind, has viewed as who he is. His ego has latched onto that as purpose. Like, this is who you are and like any threat to that viewpoint of himself
it's catastrophic.
is catastrophic. That's like, that threatens ego death, and the ego does not want to die. So it will fight that with tooth and nail. Right? So he's in this ego, like threat of ego collapse in how he's dealing with Egwene. Egwene, meanwhile, is dealing with a man who is not able to express this to her.
No.
Right? Because he has not read Jungian philosophy or whatever.
If Egwene is the most integrated character, Gawain may be the least integrated character.
And like, yeah, Egwene's issue, I actually think, is that she has rejected some of her femininity in a way where it's like she is unable to see his needs from her. She's very dismissive of him and what he needs. That's not necessarily her responsibility. She's got a lot on her fucking plate.
On, yeah.
I think oftentimes women in positions of power feel the need to suppress their femininity in order to be taken seriously.
Well, I mean,
and that can cause its own bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that kind of a major element of like second wave feminism?
Yes. Huge. So it's like, I think she has been...
Which is, this book was, I
Yeah.
guess now we're in the 2000s, but...
And one of Egwene's like core wounds and struggles is being taken seriously.
Well, that's every woman in the series, right?
Pretty much. Yeah. So, you know, that results in her suppressing, I think, some of her more compassionate tendencies toward maybe what Gawain needs. And like, because I think this could be cleared up in a single conversation. But again, communication between people who are not fully integrated is
Not
quite
gonna
difficult
happen
because
in
they're
the
not very
real time.
self-aware
Yeah.
or emotionally mature. But I would say that Egwene, of all of them, is maybe one of the more emotionally healthy characters in the entire series. Some of them are really emotionally unhealthy. So,
Yeah.
you know, but in a way that is realistic of most
course.
people. Like, you know, I think that a lot of us have a lot of shit
Yeah.
that we're dealing with. And it's like, so we bump into each other's wounds and then we assume the worst of each other because
Right.
our brains are scanning for threats and danger. So we immediately assume that somebody is a threat to us, even with very little substantial evidence of that happening. I mean, how many people have you seen who have been deeply close with someone and then one fucking problem
All the time,
blows
man.
up the relationship? And
All
it's
the
like,
time.
it's so unnecessary.
And you sit on the sidelines and you go, just talk.
Just talk.
Have one conversation.
Just have...
It will be fine.
Yeah, if you just are able to be, but the problem is that people are afraid to be vulnerable with each
Yes,
other and
yes.
show ech other their softer sides, and so they dig in harder. They say crueler shit. They, you know, they act. I mean, so many people are like, "You mess up with me, I walk away." I'm like, that's not emotional maturity.
Well, that's just a waste.
Boundaries are a thing, but like we mistake boundaries and walls.
Yeah, I think so.
We go like, hey, I don't want to be treated this way. That's one thing. But to be like, you mess up with me one time and we're not friends, that's just lame.
Well, my mom
That's not
and-
real friendship. That's not real love.
My mom and one of her closest friends had a falling out that my mom did not understand what it was. They didn't talk for a year and a half.
And it's ridiculous.
And my mom was like, hey, I don't really understand what I did wrong. Can we discuss? And it would just kind of nothing would happen. They're fine now.
yeah.
I don't know if they ever actually addressed what the problem was.
Which is actually, in my mind, kind of a problem because the trust that they won't just turn on you without any communication is not there then.
Yeah.
Right? Like, communicate. Like, I'd rather over explain than not have clarity.
Yeah.
You know, so I just
Gawain-
find that kind of shit so lame.
Gawain and Egwene should have a conversation, is what we're saying.
Gawain and Egwene should have a conversation. Perrin and Fael need to have a conversation about the fact that it's okay to catch feelings when you're in a marriage. It doesn't mean anything about your marriage.
Right. Well, I mean, here's the funny
And it's
thing,
okay for other people to
too.
catch feelings for you in your
Yeah.
marriage, and it doesn't necessarily indicate a threat to your marriage either.
Because I don't think Perrin really gives a fuck about Roland or would really give a fuck about Roland.
No, I think Fael just had like some really complicated feelings.
Yeah. But
Because she was a captive in a very intense situation, and trauma bonds are real.
everybody and their mother gives a fuck about Barrelane.
And like,
Which I will once again double down on my assertion that this is character assassination, and she was really cool for about 20 minutes in books 4, 5, and 6.
yeah, I also think, well, yeah. Like, God forbid a woman have tits. Like, but, yeah, I think the issue there too was a lack of communication.
I mean, yeah,
Because I think
that's every issue in the Wheel of Time.
Perrin failed. And listen, she pursued him in a way that was
Fucked up.
fucked up. I think he also failed to shut it down.
Not that it's on him.
No. But like, I think he sent mixed messages.
Yeah, and Barrelane
But that's not his problem.
Barrelane not to excuse her behavior. It's not an excuse for her behavior, but
No.
her entire relationship with the concept of relationships is that they are sort of these hostile things that are designed to assert power.
She's also traumatized. It's trauma all the way down.
Yeah.
When we behave poorly, most of the time, no one wakes up in the morning and goes, how can I be a villain today?
No. Well, and
She was trying to protect herself.
There's a moment in 8 or 9 where she's like, hey, your wife has been kidnapped. I'm happy to kind of call a hold on this whole thing. If you're not feeling this, I'm happy to kind of, this is not really the right time for me to be doing this, so I can kind of call a hold on
Right.
this.
And Perrin failed to do that.
I'm not blaming him for this because he was also in a skittish. He was in, not a good situation about this. He was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Which, unfortunately, because Verlaine's specific brand of being fucked up, she would then have read as, oh, so keep going. Which isn't an excuse.
No, but it is an explanation.
Yes.
Explanations can exist for lack of excuses, but like, I think we have to understand, just in like a world, like all of us have wounds and baggage, and all of us have programming that was put into us from the time we could toddle, right? So then like we go around unaware and unconscious of what those fucking behaviors are, right? Get triggered by each other because we're unaware of our triggers, right? Because we haven't faced them. We've just pushed them away and don't want to deal with them because that requires us sitting in uncomfortable emotions and uncomfortable truths. And we, as a society and as a species, view discomfort as danger. And it's not.
Right.
It's not. So you're unable to sit with what's happened to you, who you are, and like also learn that those things are actually not who you are at all, right? They're just things that your ego and mind have latched onto as like forms of protection, but like your identity is not your past, right? And then you go around unconsciously getting triggered by each other, bumping into each other's deepest wounds because you don't know that they're there, because also we've been taught to hide all of the broken parts of us,
right,
and be ashamed of them and never talk about them. And so then you hurt each other, you blow up at each other, you create all kinds of suffering and bullshit that didn't need to be there because of a lack of communication and a lack of self-awareness.
Right.
And then you hurt people and create suffering for yourself and others.
Right.
And then that causes additional pain bodies and shame spirals and la-di-da-di-da. So like, yeah, it's just a lack of self-acceptance, self-awareness, self-compassion, and self-understanding, and making the unconscious conscious, and the ability to sit in discomfort with who you've decided, your ego has decided you are.
Going back to Egwene and Rand a little bit, you talked about them being dual protagonists.
Yes.
What does that, I guess, how does that bode for the end of the series? Does anything have to happen there?
I think they have to balance. I think that what is going to happen is a power struggle between the two of them going forward.
Okay.
I think that would explain also why Egwene gets a lot of ire in the community if she's mean to baby boy Rand.
Sure, yeah.
I think because, yeah, and so we'll have to examine how why that exists and why female trauma gets dismissed and male trauma gets dismissed in a different way.
Yeah.
It's going to be a whole thing to unpack. I have a feeling that we're going to need to unpack it. But like, yeah, I imagine that the two of them are going to have some issues coming into balance because that's the theme of the book. So if it was too easy for them, like, then what? Plus, I mean, at the end of the day, she's still his ex.
She is his ex.
Yeah. I mean, it seemed like a bigger deal in the show, which I agreed with as a decision.
Yes.
But still, at the end of the day, right? Like, childhood sweetheart, that's going to be complicated. Yeah, and they have to come into balance and figure shit out because that's what was broken the first time, is they couldn't come into agreement and the men just went off and did something. Again, thinking that's what they needed to do is inaction, and sometimes inaction is just as powerful as action. Sometimes intuition is just as powerful as thought, as logic. So, yeah, I think because of that, because the initial wounding was that the masculine disregarded the feminine and went and did their own fucking thing, and that broke the balance of the world, what's going to need to happen potentially is that Rand has to defer to Egwene on something, I think. Something big with high stakes.
That would make sense. Compromises.
I think there's going to have to be a point of reckoning at there's a big karmic debt there.
Between
it's a past life karmic debt. Like, I mean, if we think about it in terms of like La Trapersai and Lews Therin,
yeah,
right? If If we want to go that route, which I think is more interesting to talk about.
Right. Whether or not it's canonical, we're gonna lean into it as a concept.
As a result, have a massive past life karmic debt wound.
Yeah,
in which he failed to listen to her and then ultimately failed her.
Yeah.
And she
also failed to listen to him and failed him.
Yes. So they have to figure out a way in this lifetime to come to, I mean, this is how past life karmic debts work, right? You have to figure out how to correct that in this lifetime.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Pretty cool shit. A couple other characters let's touch on really quick because we haven't talked about them and I consider them to be fairly... Unless you had more you wanted to say there, I just felt like you kind of hit...
I think I landed at a good point.
Actually, hold on. Ad break and then a couple more things. Welcome back. Nynaeve. Haven't seen or talked about her very much.
Yeah, I think right now she's busy making sure her husband doesn't die. Again, another man who like rode off to do something.
Yes.
Right? Like, I think that there's an issue that we're seeing in this series of men believing that they need to isolate themselves, which feels poignant.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Isolation, lack of emotion, lack of emotional maturity, right? This disregard of like feminine assistance, like a refusal to accept help because, I don't know, help is weakness, help puts other people into vulnerable states, but like no one achieves anything alone.
Right.
So she said, fuck that. You're getting help. And he's angry with her for it. But I think ultimately Malkier will be taken back because I think that's what has to happen for, you know, like, I mean, otherwise massive bummer.
That would kind of, yeah.
But at the same time, I do think that we need, and this is a theory, I do think that we need to have a pretty big setback before the last battle. So there is a part of me that feels like Malkier might be taken back, but Lan may die in the process.
That would be a bummer.
Because...
It'd be kind of hard for Nynaeve.
A bit. But like, he's been saying this whole time that that is going to be a thing that happens. I think that's, in a way, almost like a manifestation of what's going to happen. Like, you know. But... it's just because I feel like this is the penultimate book and I do think that Moraine's going to be let out. We can't have too much winning before the last battle because otherwise the stakes are
fair. Otherwise it's kind of like, well, what are we here for? Right.
And it feels like the thing that like, so I think we have to have like things where it's like something good happens at a great cost.
Right.
So like Moraine is rescued, Matt loses an eye. Right. Like, these things can't come easily. So I'm like, well, what's the cost of winning back Malkier? That makes sense. And I'm like, well, that Lan doesn't make it. His death has been talked about like every fucking book.
He has been horny for his death since the beginning. Less so when he fell in love with Nynaeve, by the way.
Less so.
And now he's kind of back on his bullshit, respectfully.
I don't know, man. Like, it feels like that does... We can't win Malkier too easily. Mm-hmm. It's the penultimate book, so we really need to have like a low point. Rand also, I think, will die.
Well, that's been prophesied from the beginning, right?
I mean, he'll come back, but Lan won't because Lan's not Jesus. But yeah, I've kind of been circling around for a while that Lan may not make it past this book.
That would be hard.
Unless it's one of those like last battles happening everywhere. So like Malkier is like part of the last battle.
Well, what do you think?
Which is possible. But then again, I feel like then we got to see a lot of people die. And he's one where I'm like, that would be a heartbreaker. And for a lot of them at this point, and would make sense with his arc.
It would.
I think, though, before that, he has to discover reasons to live.
Isn't that Nynaeve? Petey, come on up here, bud.
Yeah,
you keep on looking like.
But he hasn't fully.
Come on, Petey.
He hasn't fully embraced that. So there's a part of me that wonders if Nynaeve is pregnant, because if Lan dies but Nynaeve is pregnant, that's like a whole like hope for the future, like Malkier throne is secure kind of vibe.
I mean, that would also be in keeping with the genre and the time, right?
Pregnancy for everyone.
Babies all the way down.
Babies all the way down. It's your 30s. This book is our 30s.
This book
Everyone's
is your 30s,
pregnant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a thought. But I think, yeah, in order for like his death to really have the poignance it needs, I think he needs to discover like that he likes being alive.
But didn't he?
He's in progress.
Sure. Okay, that's
He's not fully there yet.
Nynaeve. Okay.
Which is why I'm kind of wondering if Nynaeve is pregnant as like a final button on that, because like falling in love, that's like one reason to live, but like a child is a whole other.
Well, yeah.
From what I hear, a whole other fucking ball game.
That's what they say.
In terms of the brain chemistry hit that you get from that.
That's what they say.
So there's a thought. There's a possibility.
Couple other people. Let's do a quick Forsaken roundup.
Okay.
Lanfear / Sindane.
Oh yeah. I feel like she rebels at some point.
Okay, but she's got the thing. Her thing's in the thing. The Corsuvra.
But if you think that my girl Lanfear is not constantly thinking about a way to get out of that situation, I don't think we know her.
That is how she do.
So to me, there's no way she's not plotting. She's beaten down, but she's not beaten, I think. You know? Masana's Danelle, so we'll figure that out, and eventually Egwene's going to have to kill her. They'll have a showdown.
What about Maury?
Well, I think Rand's going to become Moradin.
Right. Okay. Body swap.
That's a whole shadow self-integration as well, if we think about it.
Kind of would be, wouldn't it?
Also, why is he hot?
Why is he hot?
Otherwise.
The classic.
They're in each other's heads. Quantum entanglement. I don't know. So.
Maggedian?
I feel like her beef with Nynaeve has to have a conclusion.
Okay.
Because otherwise, what are we doing here? Daemon Dread. I had this fucking moment with Galad where like in this chapter where someone called him Damodred.
Yeah, and you went,
I
what?
freaked out for a second because I thought it said Daemon Dread, and I didn't realize how close those names are to each other.
They're really fucking close.
And then I thought to myself, is there a reason?
I think it's just Arthurian.
Maybe, but it was a point where I went like, that feels like a very significant name comparison. Like
it does.
Of all the syllables.
Well, we know. Look, I mean, what do we know about Daemon Dread? He looks like Mazrim Taim, but now we know he's not.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We also know, because we've been able to talk about this because it's fair game now. Robert's original plans there, right?
Was to have him be Mazrim Taim.
Yeah.
But people guessed it too easily.
Or he changed his mind.
Whatever.
Something or other happened.
Well, that's my theory. People guessed it too easily. And he was like, I don't like that.
I think that'd be pretty funny.
But yeah, I mean, writers are like that.
Yeah,
I'll be honest.
Oh, you think you're so clever? They say.
Yeah. Exactly.
Fuck you.
And we still don't really know where he is. I mean, it seems like he's messing with the Black Tower in some way. But yeah, there was a part of me that was like, is he maybe some kind of distant relative of the Damodreds, and that just kind of like went through time? I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. It just seemed interesting to me. Off the top of my head, I was like, oh, that's an interesting quandary. Yeah. Anything else?
Galad? Now he's failed upwards into, not really.
Lord Captain Commander? Yeah. And he got rescued, thank God.
He did, because of his rousing speech that he gave in the prologue.
You know, every man wants to give a rousing speech.
And I mean, you know what?
The masculine urge to give a rousing speech.
We watched Aragorn. We watched Theoden.
You want to give that rousing speech?
Shit, man.
I get it. I fucking get it. You want to have that rhetoric.
You want to do that. You want to be able to inspire people with your voice.
Yeah. the masculine urge to give an incredible speech.
That's everybody has it.
Yeah. So I think he's going to do what he says and go like, we need to align with Rand, my half brother.
He's kind of going that way.
It seems to be where he's going. Talk about father wounds, by the way. To me, it makes more sense. Galad's behavior makes more sense if he's like, my dad was a dick and I don't want to be that.
That would work.
That, to me, makes the most sense. Like, I don't think, unless the mom had a toxic dating life, like, it can be complicated for kids because, they can get attached and then things don't work out and la-di-da-di. Obviously, there's a lot of layers, but, like, single moms can date. That doesn't make them bad moms. There is also a world in which single moms can date toxically.
Yeah.
And that's a whole thing, and drag their kids into their dating life in a way that's inappropriate, right? That's a whole line to walk that I'm not walking, so I don't feel like I can say too much about it. But like, as someone who grew up with divorced parents who dated, like, there's a thing. But I feel like, for me, I mean, not wanting to become your parents is a real thing. That's a real wound for people. And I feel like his dad, considering he wanted to assassinate his stepmom, is probably not a great dude. So maybe his overemphasis on morality makes more sense.
Yeah, a lot we could dig into there with Tarangale.
With that?
Yeah. With
the whole Tarangale situation? But yeah, I think he's realizing though that he's like, I gotta team up with Rand. That's kind of essential at this point.
Well, he's leading that way. He's leaning towards like, guys, Aes Sedai are not like
the devil,
universally bad either.
Well, and he was raised with them, so he knows.
Yeah, he gets it.
He gets it. I think he just really wanted structure.
Yeah.
Which, like, what unfortunate structure to find, but like, cults find people when they're vulnerable. Maybe he's trying to be the change he wants to see. But yeah, I think inevitably they've got to align with the White Cloaks, and this is how they're going to do it. This complicated tapestry of a family tree is how we're going to do it. I would love an acknowledgement that the two of them are related at some point.
Yeah, it would be good. That would be kind of cool.
Brother moment. Little half brother moment. Little like, hey, your mom and my mom, same person. Kind of wild. Yeah, I'd love that. That'd be cool. Let me see. What else? I want the Damodred siblings to be reunited and Elaine to apologize to Galad.
That would also be kind of cool.
I think that'd be good. I would like Morghese and Galad to have a moment as well. I think the Damodreds need to be reunited. Deeply. Like, desperately need to be reunited. I'm team reunite the Damodreds for like a lovely moment. Where it's like, our family's fucked up, but we love each other. That'd be nice. I feel like ToM and Morghese have got to have a moment. ToM and Morghese have got to have a moment.
Right.
Moiraine and ToM have to be reunited because they're in love. That's a whole thing. I think Swan and Gareth Bryn are toast.
How so? Dead toast or?
Yeah, toast.
Because of the prophecy?
Yeah, toast.
Okay.
Toast. They're going to get separated at some point. Life is chaos.
Yeah, probably.
They can't be attached at the hip. It also didn't say how far away they can be from each other.
That is true.
How far can they be? Anyway, they're toast.
That's a good question.
Yeah, toast. Plus, with Moiraine back, Swan's kind of a repeat beat.
Unfortunately, yes. Finn stuff, anything you want to talk about there? I don't mean to just kind of circle around options, but I want to make sure we cover
that's all going to be
everything.
the fucking board game.
Oh, yeah, Snakes and Foxes. Okay.
Yeah, Matt's been literally training how to do this. I think that's got to be like, we got to be getting there like midpoint of the book, right? Like, how long can we really drag this on any longer? We can't. Like, Brandon, please. And Brandon's not sitting here going, I have infinite books.
No,
like,
Brandon, in fact, was supposed to write one.
Yeah, so he's got to get there post haste.
Yeah.
Who else we got? Who am I missing? ToM,
you mentioned ToM.
ToM, we know.
Avienda. And I guess Min. I mean, both of them have not... Avienda's had more plot the past book or so because of the Wise One thing, right?
Yeah.
With that
She's a
really
wise
kicking
one
into gear.
now.
She's a wise one now.
Now, how that's going to impact the books is going to be interesting because now she's a leader in her own right. All the girls are leaders at this point in some way. Kind of Min aside, but like she's a researcher. So like, I mean, Min to me is like chief target of the golem because like that one guy that got ripped apart was like,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Herod fell.
like,
right?
is she going to stumble upon things that they don't want her to know?
That would be bad.
I don't think she's going to get killed, but like, she's definitely poking her nose in some stuff that like could be a problem. We haven't really dealt with this golem at all.
I guess we should probably talk about the golem at all because we haven't seen it in
It's like not been particularly effective.
since when did we last see
I
the golem?
haven't seen Millie Skane in a minute.
Haven't seen Millie.
She was
Skane
like
in a
really
minute.
cool
She
and
was
then
really
just kind of went
cool.
away.
She kind of disappeared, came back for a minute, disappeared again. Admittedly, I think a lot of stuff went tits up in Abu Dar when the Shan Chan took over. You know?
Yeah.
Anything else, though? I guess, I mean, what do you think is going to happen with the golem? You think it's going to come after Min, but also who is it
Well,
most...
it was chasing Matt, wasn't it?
It was chasing Matt.
And it hasn't materialized.
It kind of went north when the girls went to the farm, but then they teleported to Tarvalin, and so I guess it fucked off. And it was most closely associated with, I feel like, Matt, right?
Yeah.
On account of the fighting with it that he
well,
was
Matt,
doing.
and then he also ripped the guy apart. Herod fell,
Herod fell.
who was kind of friends with Min. So I'm like, those two, it kind of was hovering around. The 3-letter M names. But yeah, I feel like they have been resting on their laurels as a bad guy for a while. I'm like, where are you?
Yeah.
That feels like it should make a resurgence.
It was one of the coolest types of shadow spawn, I feel.
Yes, and we haven't seen hide nor hair. Erengar and Nosengar are done. Do we have any other Forsaken?
They're dead, aren't they?
Yeah, dead.
I don't think we have any other Forsaken.
Very funny that they brought Erengar and Nosengar back just to
Do fucking
have them
nothing.
do fuck all.
Well, you came up with probably the most interesting theory I've ever heard about Erengar and Osengar, which was that Osengar's was meant to destabilize the Black Tower and Erengar was meant to destabilize the White Tower. Unfortunately, neither of them actually did that. Because the Black Tower destabilized by itself because Rand is an ineffective administrator. And the White Tower...
Never underestimate the power of an ineffective administrator to fuck everything up.
And Egwene was too... She was just too fucking cool to let them destabilize. I mean, the White Tower was destabilized in the first place.
Destabilize it further.
But destabilizing the rebels...
Well, listen, the best laid plans, but like it's not the Dark One's fault that the minions were stupid.
No. And it's... yeah.
I just think... And what's
Which one?
not Masana, the other
Magedian?
Forsaken, no, a woman.
Semirog?
Yes, Semirog did a good job destabilizing the Shanjian.
Clearly.
Unfortunately,
we didn't get to see any of it.
rather effective on that. I know we really didn't.
No.
We kind of just get to hear a lot about what they do as an aside, which...
Is there anybody else needs destabilizing? Because it looks like we've kind of tried to destabilize. We had the guys grabbing individual kingdoms, destabilizing them, right? We had Erengar destabilizing the White Tower. We had Osengar destabilizing the Black Tower. We had Semirog destabilizing Shan-Chan. Mm-hmm. Are we missing anything?
Where Daemon Dread might be. Where else is there? I guess up north.
I mean, the
And
Borderlands,
they're getting real fucked right now.
The Aiel, I guess, Asmodean was going for the Aiel.
Well, because I mean...
He did. He did quite well with
He did
Couladin.
quite well with Couladin,
So
yeah.
I guess that's this part of the world taken care of.
Yeah, I mean, Shara is the only other thing I can think of, but like they seem pretty irrelevant.
Yeah, they haven't really done anything ever.
No. So, yeah, I mean, I think the theory I have about Daemon Dread 1 is that he fits right in visually with the Borderlands. So, like, why? Because he's got a hooked nose and all that stuff.
He does, yeah.
So it makes sense visually for him to be there because he blends right in. But then also, like, to me, it makes sense as a plan to destabilize the North because then if the North falls, they're like the thing keeping the like everyone in the South does not know how the fuck to deal with anything blight-wise. Like if all the Trollocs come down from the North, like they're fucked. Absolutely fucked in the South. No?
No, they would be pretty boned.
Yeah, it's going to go through them like tissue paper. They don't have the hardened... Like they... At this point...
Well, but again, I mean...
many people don't even believe they're real.
But here's the thing. The Borderland armies are fucking gone. Remember that's the whole thing?
I know. No, they're...
Coming to do whatever?
Oh, you know what'd be interesting?
Huh?
Is if he disguised himself as like one of the guys going with Land North.
Oh, that could be interesting.
I mean, it wouldn't be that hard to do. Because it's not like Land knows all those guys personally.
No.
You know? Well, because where the fuck has he been otherwise? Bopping around the dream world. Feels like Land trying to take back Malkir would attract some notice. Because that would bring some stabilization to that area that would be very inconvenient. And we know he likes to work through proxies. Mm-hmm. We know he's been like kind of using Mazrim Tayyim.
We do know that. He's had some
shit.
connection with,
Yeah, but like, I think... Well, because I'm like, otherwise, where is he? Like, do we have other dudes hanging around? What if he was like the High Lord Wiramon?
The land of the madmen, Allie.
Nah.
He's in
What
Australia.
if he was Wiramon this whole time?
That would be pretty fucking funny.
Wiramon or... Who's the other guy that hangs out with Rand?
Dobrain?
Yeah, that's a guy. Though he almost got killed at one point.
He did.
So that I feel like that kind of rules him out. But he almost got killed, not totally. So that is a little suspicious. Does he have a family, Dobrain?
Yes.
Okay. So that rules him out.
And I think you're right. Shar is pretty irrelevant.
And Wiramon doesn't have enough influence on Rand to...
No, Wiramon's a buffoon.
Which, like... But I think Daemon Dread's going to be more effective than Wiramon. My guess... Yeah. And then it can't be Davram. So I feel like my guess is that he may try to infiltrate Land going to Malkir.
Okay.
Because he could. It wouldn't be that hard.
Not really.
Or he could be with the White Cloaks, I guess.
Theoretically. Do we want to touch on... oh, fuck. I had something I was going to say. Damn it. It's gone.
Unless he's just been fucking around in the dream world, like fucking with people's dreams. That's like kind of a Lanfear's gig.
That was Lanfear's gig. And Magedian's.
Repeated shit.
Remember Magedian's whole thing with I'm going to turn you into a horse and ride you around?
Yeah, and it's more like he likes proxies. So I feel like he's got his hands in a lot of pies. Like we find out that a lot of them are working for him, maybe. But then where is he?
Grendel now running around. Anything else to do with her?
Okay, let's think about this. We've got the trio of... So Semirog is dead. Missana and Daemon Dread were in an alliance.
Yeah.
What other options does... And then there's Moradin and his little duo of sadness.
Yeah, his enforced alliance.
So that's an alliance of 3, technically. Right? Are there any other Forsaken that are alive? No. Because I'm just thinking about... Okay, this is Survivor, right? I'm thinking about... So now we have...
You got
a
Grendel,
majority alliance.
Grendel, Sindain, Moradin, Daemon Dread, Magedian, and Missana.
Yeah, so we got a majority alliance versus these two.
But it is shot. But Moradin won.
For now.
Sure, yeah.
Grendel said, she's like, I'm not going to let that sit. Yeah. Which means she has 2 choices ahead of her as someone who plays the middle. Right? She can either go with this alliance of 3 and try to undermine it from inside, which she knows that there are 2 very unhappy little campers. But that's a dangerous game. Because if they turn on her, which they might, she's fucked. But she can maybe show up and kind of poke at it and see what options are available to her there. Feel it out. Or she goes to the other alliance of 2 and goes, you're down a third. I'll be your third.
Bring me in, coach.
And then we have even numbers.
Yeah.
So those are her 2 choices.
Where do you think she's going to go?
I think she's going to play the middle. I think she's going to do a little bit of both.
Well, we've been talking about this
She's going to look for weaknesses in Alliance 1, which there are cracks in that alliance because it's a forced alliance.
Yeah.
So she's going to try to undermine that alliance there and see if she can kind of convince the other two to figure out how to bring him down. And she's going to play the other side and say, I'm with you guys, and we have an alliance of 3. That way, if something goes tits up, she's got 2 options.
Well, we have been talking background for an hour 20. Clearly, we're not going to talk about the chapter right now, but I think this is equally interesting, if not more so, compared to this chapter, which is fine, but which we're going to do next time as part of a 2-chapter episode. Do we want to talk about anything else? I am sure there are things we have missed.
Loyal?
That is something we have missed. I mean, we had the whole epigraph with him, right, in the book of translation.
I think we discussed that, like, oh God, what did we discuss? I came up with this whole theory, I think.
We talked about how the Ogier are aliens from another dimension.
Yes. And they're deciding whether or not to intervene in human affairs.
Right.
A classic alien conundrum.
Right.
And I think Loyal's going to convince him to do it.
Perhaps.
Sounds
that
like
seems
it.
to be his objective.
Yeah.
And the 11th, a Hail Mary, a Project Hail Mary, if you will.
I think it's going to happen. Because that just makes sense. It's the right thing to do.
It is.
All right.
Okay. Well, I guess that's kind of it.
Yeah.
And when we remember something later, we'll tag it on eventually some other time, probably, because there's always more to talk about the Wheel of Time. This has been really fun.
That was really fun.
I like this. We're going to go back to the book next week. Because now we're done with fucking termites and mold and bullshit. Thanks for listening, everybody. We have social media if you want to know what we've got going on. It's linked below. We also have a Patreon if you want to support us that way. It's patreon.com/wheeltakes. You could always leave us a rating and a review if you want. It helps a lot. Other than that, check out the Babylon podcast. That's been another fun project we've got going on. Other than that, anything else, Sally?
Do you know I've been reading Jungian philosophy?
Thanks for listening, everyone. Bye.
Bye.